I imagine that for most grandparents, sharing a piece of chocolate with a grandchild is an act of love. But for my grandmother, it was an act of war. And I was the enemy. I'm in the north of France. It's my birthday. I'm 13 years old. I go visit my grandmother in the hopes of getting a present of some sort. I step in her pristine kitchen, and I see a gift on the windowsill. It's a golden box, and I know from the wrapping it's a box of chocolate pralines, Leonidas pralines, my favorite. This visit will not be in vain. I say, "It's my birthday." She says, "Happy birthday." No gift is offered. I got an A in grammar, but not in spelling. Here's the Christmas card you sent me. I corrected the mistakes. The box remains on the sill. The status quo lasts for another half hour. As I put my coat ready to leave, I go for it. "Meme, what's that box on the windowsill?" "Oh, that's a little something for your cousin Anthony." Watch her face, and she's smiling. I know she has bought the chocolate for this moment. She knows I know. That makes her smile some more. I come home upset, so that night my father calls his mom, and I eavesdrop on the phone. "Really? On her birthday? Really?" And I hear my grandmother yell back on the phone, "C'est quoi son problème à la petite pisseuse? What's her problem, the little pisser?" Now, no one in France says pisser. That's an insult my grandmother invented. That's what she calls girls. Girls piss. That's all they're good for. She's had 3 boys, and that's the right way to do it. She has 5 grandsons that she dotes on. To her, I'm just the little pisser. The years fly by. I move to another country. And when I visit home once a year, I go visit my grandmother to make my father happy. But time isn't kind to Meme. And one day, she goes to the bakery to get some milk, which they don't have. It's a bakery. But she doesn't believe them. She knows there's a cow behind that counter. "I'll milk the cow myself." To get to that imaginary milk, my 91-year-old grandmother wrestles the baker to the ground. The next time I see Meme, she's been placed in a nursing home. "It's not really a nursing home," my father says on the way to the facility. As we get closer, he gets really quiet. When we step inside, the doors lock behind us. And my father points at the card-activated security system on the ground. He grins and kind of winks at me. But I follow him inside, and we find my grandmother in a small courtyard. She has shrunk in size. But today's a good day. She recognizes my father, and we sit and chat with her for a little bit. And that's when my father points at Meme's ankle and says, "Your thing. Show her your thing. Come on." And that's when I notice that my grandmother is wearing, just above her distended sock, a gray band. My grandmother is wearing an electronic ankle monitor. "That thing rings if she steps out the door. She's escaped twice. Once she's made it to the street." "Do you know who this is? And as my father points at me, I can see Meme knows this is a trick question. This is my daughter, so she's your granddaughter. You are way too old and ugly to be my son. My father laughs at his mother's jab, and while I listen to him laugh, I wonder what this must be like for Meme to be in this world. She tries to make sense of it, but she can't, because in her mind, she's a young woman again, perhaps in her 20s. She knows how to milk a cow. She has perfect spelling. She just married that sexy, exotic Jewish boy. It is 1938, and life is looking grand. She can't see her husband in the courtyard. Instead, there's this grizzly bear of a man laughing. He puts this strange object in her hand. It's square and smooth and cold to the touch. And when she clutches it, it leaves brown streaks on her flesh. Eat it, my father says. And at first, Meme resents the order, but then she remembers something and she puts the mini Mars bar in her mouth. And that makes me really sad, because my dad, he loves his mom, but he's just a guy raised in the 40s in a country devastated by war, and he does not know how to take care of her. She didn't have any daughters, she just had sons. There's no one to buy her new socks. And all my dad knows to do is like marvel at her will to escape and feed her little Mars bars. And that pisses me off, because he could be giving her the good chocolate. Leonidas pralines. But no, he keeps feeding her this crap American candy bar. So I decide to make the best of it. I don't just let things happen, I embrace them. If my grandmother thinks it is 1938 and I'm a coworker from the bank, fine, let's do this. I ask her questions, and she tells us the stories that are freshest in her mind. They're stories we've never heard. And that's when she tells us that before she met my grandfather, she was engaged to another man, her sweetheart. My sweetheart, she calls him. My sweetheart left me. We were going to get married. I was going to study and be a teacher. But he joined the Navy, and he never wrote to me. They put him on a submarine, and it sank, and he died. Except he wrote to me. Yes, he did. Camille, my brother, he told me on the train. Mother, she stole the letters, hid the letters, burnt the letters. Wait, Meme, what did she do that for? I was making good money at the bank. She didn't want to lose the income. And I know, I was just a girl. She said girls don't need to study. I look at my father, and my father looks at me, and then he starts to rummage in his pockets, and he pulls out a mini Mars bar and hands it to my grandmother. And that's when I make a mental note. Never again leave the house without good chocolate. And just in case you did not make the same resolution, check out your program. There's a little piece of chocolate for you. Enjoy, and thank you.